நிமிர்ந்து நிற்கும் உங்கள் RTV தமிழ்.
Welcome to Braille Translations. We have many years' experience providing Braille to our customers. Leaflets, signs, restaurant menus, or entire books. We're here to help. We can also provide Braille in many world languages, and no matter what the job, big or small, we can assist you with your needs. Please call us on 0800 019 0946 or visit our website at www.brailletranslations.co.uk. That's www.brailletranslations.co.uk.
வணக்கம் நேர்களே, இன்றும் உங்களுடன் நான் உங்கள் அன்பின் கௌரிசன் ரத்னராஜா இணைந்திருக்கின்றேன். இன்றும் டேர்னிங் பாயிண்ட் திருப்பு முனை நிகழ்ச்சியுடன் இன்றும் நீங்கள் புதிய விடயங்களை சந்திக்க இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி மூலம் காத்திருக்கின்றீர்கள். நாங்களும் காத்திருக்கின்றோம். இன்றும் உங்கள் நிகழ்ச்சியை அனுசரை வழங்கிக் கொண்டிருக்கின்றார்கள் பிரைல் டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன்ஸ் லிமிடெட். மற்றும் இன்று எங்கள் நிகழ்ச்சியை பார்க்கணும் என்றால் நீங்கள் ஃபேஸ்புக் மூலமாகவும் யூடியூப் மூலமாகவும் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணாதான் பார்க்க முடியும். மற்றும் ஈகிள் டிவி மூலமாகவும் கனடாவில் ஈகிள் டிவி மூலமாகவும் பார்க்க முடியும் என்று தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். இன்று நாங்கள் சிறப்பு விருந்தினரை சந்திக்க இருக்கின்றோம். அவர் மிஸ்டர் ரபி மார்டின்ஸ். அவர் இந்த மென்டல் ஹெல்த்தை பற்றி கதைக்கின்றிருக்கின்றார். அத்தோடு அவரை பற்றி நாங்கள் தெரிந்து கொள்ள இருக்கின்றோம். அவர் UK லண்டனை சேர்ந்தவர். அவரை நாங்கள் ஆங்கிலத்தில் உரையாட இருக்கின்றோம். Good evening, Mr. Rabi Martin.
Good to see you.
Hi, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you.
That's good. Thanks for coming for this interview Turning Point show. The people are watching all over the world via Facebook and YouTube and also Eagle TV in Canada. Privileged to have you on my show. And tell me about yourself, Rabi, if you don't mind.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here. A bit about myself. I was actually born in India, in Goa. Then I studied in East Africa and Ireland, went to college in Ireland. And I came to the UK in 1971. Been here since then. Got into politics and I got elected to Watford Council in 1994, and I've been there since that time. And then 3 years ago, I got asked by the council to take on the role of mental health champion, again, which I've done. So as a councillor, I do other things, but my prime function, thing I enjoy most, is being the mental health champion for the town.
That's good to hear. So you represent Watford Council, is that correct?
Indeed, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's Watford Council in Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. Which county is that? Hertfordshire County, is it?
We're in Hertfordshire County and in the East of England region.
That's good. So tell me, why did you involve with the politics first?
That's a very easy question to answer, Gal. Like I said, I came to the country in 1971.
Yeah.
In fact, I came to England a bit before that. And I came to the country at a time when race was at its height. And I experienced race racial bias, racial discrimination firsthand. In fact, when I first came to England and I went looking for accommodation, what amazed me and annoyed me was looking into the notice board and saying room to let, blacks did not apply. Or
Yes.
room to let, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. That was the country I came into. And I decided then that this is not something I was prepared to put up with. So I got involved in campaigning on race relations, and that's how I got into the whole political scene, if you like.
That's good. Since the campaign is quite successful, is it? What do you say?
I think we've come a long way. Yes, I mean, part of that initial campaign, which I did with other colleagues, including a name you've heard of, Lord Delakia, and
Yeah.
we got the first Race Relations Act way back then. And things have improved a lot. But my particular feeling is racism has not gone away, discrimination has not gone away. People have learned to live with it, and those who are racist have found ways to get around it.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Still going on, isn't it? Yeah.
It's still going on at every level, in every walk of life, whether it's politics, whether it's schooling. I mean, as you know, in schooling particularly, if you look at the statistics,
Mm.
more black people, black background people, Asians, Africans, African Caribbeans, get excluded from the school than any other race. So that's why it starts. And then at work, promotion is very limited for the top jobs.
Yeah.
Very few at the very top who are black or Asian. Even in football, I think, as you probably know, Gao, I think there's only one or maybe two, managers who are black. And yet,
Yeah.
in terms of talent, they're amazing. They're everywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you mentioned football. I was reading on the Twitter last couple of days ago about somebody saying that discrimination one of the players in Aston Villa or something. Is that correct? I
That's,
don't know.
yeah, yeah. It's happening everywhere, as you know. On the football pitches, they still get called names. So it's going on all around us. But the thing I think I'll say about our communities, we've learned to live with it and we've learned to get ahead despite the obstacles of racism.
Yes, good. Yeah, it is. Yes, I think the similar things, including Asian and also especially Asian disabled people, also similar struggle as well, isn't it? Yeah,
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. So you said 3 years ago you involved with the mental health. Can you tell me about that program, please? Our
Right.
viewers and listeners.
Yes, of course. Yeah. The country, certainly in the UK, and I suspect elsewhere as well, began to realize that people in work do suffer mental health. Most of the reasons for being absent from work is actually related not to physical illness, but to mental health illness. And that, if you like, was the trigger for us to say, hang on, we need to do something about this, if for no other reason, for the reasons of productivity at work, etc. That was the
Mm,
trigger. So when I got asked to be mental health champion for Watford, the first thing I did was to look internally at the organization, look at our stats for absenteeism,
mhm.
and absolutely right, like everywhere else, it turned out that the biggest cause of absenteeism was stress, mental stress rather than physical illness. Uh, so I took the challenge on, if you like,
Mhm.
and got talking to my colleagues, the senior politicians, and indeed the senior managers at the town hall. And
Yeah,
we agreed that we've got to tackle this in our self-interest, if nothing else, not altruistic gesture, but
Yeah.
really because it's costing us. It was costing us.
Yeah.
So going back then, so 3 years they appointed me as a mental health champion. I then got an officer to work with me, and we came up with a strategy and a plan. And the first plan was to get the council as a whole to sign a pledge,
Mm-hmm.
make a public statement to say, we want to do something about mental health and well being in this organization. So we signed a public pledge, the managing director, the then mayor, all the senior officers, and all the councillors signed a pledge that we will tackle this problem. That was the kind of basics. Step 2 was to say, okay, we now said we are going to do it. So, but how are we going to do it? What do we
Yeah.
need to do? So the first step we then took was to say, we need people in the organization to work with their colleagues, may encourage them to talk about it, help them when they've got a problem. And at the same time, the country was developing this mental health first aider program. As you know, Gao, every organization has got first aiders, which is
Yeah.
for physical first aid.
Mm.
Uh, So an organization came up with the idea of developing a program to train mental health first aiders in the organization. That's
Yeah.
all they are. They're there to provide first aid. So my next step was then to appoint 12 mental health first aiders in the council, i.e. one in each department, as it were. So they were all there. So that's step 2. Step 3 for me was to say, okay, we're doing it now. We're beginning to do it in the council, but we
Yeah.
want businesses to come on board as well.
Yeah.
So I then met with the Chamber of Commerce, senior management, and CEO, and had a discussion. And we came up with a program to take mental health initiatives into the business world.
Okay. That's good. So how's it going so far then, this program?
All right. Let me give you a bit of mental health is with us and is going to go on forever. So this is not it's a journey. It's a journey that you got to go on if you're going to tackle it, right?
Yeah.
So we got 2 programs in trend. One is called Watford Wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. It is about let's talk about mental health issues. Let's engage with the practitioners and get them working with people who suffer. Let's talk to the people who are affected and say to them, listen, it is okay not to be okay. Let's talk about it because you're not alone.
Mm.
That is really what I use as my driver to get people talking about mental health, doing something about it. The practitioners are professional people who know how to deal with the various aspects of mental illness. I'm not
Yeah.
one of those.
Mm.
Uh, But what I am and what I am creating is a lot of advocates, people in the community who say to their colleagues, look, you don't look very well today. You don't seem to feel well today. Shall we have a chat? Come on, let's
Yeah.
have a cup of tea and let's talk about your problem. Right? Those are the advocates. The problem we know, Gao, people don't like talking about mental health.
Yeah.
Very few people like to put their hand up and say, hey, I've got a bit of an emotional problem. They'll come to you quite happily and say, go, I've cut my hand. What should I do about it?
Mm.
But they will not come to you and say, go, I really can't think straight today. What should I
Yeah.
do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole point of the program that we're running is to make people willing and free to just talk about their issues. So the Watford Wellness is a program that we run every week.
Mm-hmm.
Once a week, I do a webinar with somebody from the industry, somebody either a professional or somebody in the community who's worked with mental health, be it grieving support, hypnotherapy, transcendental meditation, anything that will help people address the problem. So I have one of those every Wednesday with one person. Then once a month, we get together. Everybody, it's a webinar which is open to everybody, and it's managed by us, by myself and my colleague from the Watford Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And again, we invite a professional, a speaker to share their experiences. There's no magic. We're not psychiatrists. We're not psychologists. That's not our role. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense, Carl.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. So yeah, that's come to another point as well. The last year and during this year, the lockdown is going on. Most of the people are getting mental problem as well, isn't it? Because a lot of losing jobs and also
Mhm.
businesses going down and not enough financial support from the government. Not much, but there is, but not much for people are still suffering. People are closing down the um, daily life shops as well, like a newsagent, local cafes, not well known cafes, like a local community cafes as well.
Yes. Hmm.
And the local community are struggling as well. And nowadays, is everything online, and people, especially elderly people, like to go out, walk around because now they can't because they're scared of this coronavirus. Uh, and also the children and children are studying home study. They get more mental stress as well, fighting with their parents. And I know the personal point of view is happening in our family as well. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
The fact is, though, we humans, in fact, the animals, a social animal, we
yeah,
need a contact with our own kind. If you watch an animal, I have a dog, my daughter has a dog, and we take her to the park. And
mm,
every time she sees another dog, she runs up to that dog and interacts with it.
yeah,
It's the very same with humans. We need interaction with other humans.
yeah,
Uh, Doing Zoom meetings and contacts and all, it's not real. It doesn't actually give you that emotional link with the other person that we need. It's
yeah,
just a necessity thing that we need.
mm,
But you're so right about COVID, though. COVID did three things initially.
yeah,
And I've been through this to another charity that I work with. The first thing that COVID did was put a strain on people's finances.
mm,
Uh, so they could no longer feed their children and themselves like they could before. That
yeah,
was the start. Now, again, talking to families, that puts a strain. The strain that puts on the families is to say, "Oh gosh, I'm inadequate. I can't provide for my families." But if
yeah,
you're a parent, you're not worried that you're hungry. You are
mm,
worried that you can't feed your children.
that's it. Yeah,
So that's why it kind of starts. Then you've got the thing about suddenly, when the lockdown came, we end up in a situation where people don't get up and go to work on their and get on with their lives. Everybody is
yeah,
in the same space all the time,
mm,
and that created a new raft of problems in terms of we're social animals, but we also like our space. We
yeah,
occasionally like to be alone, left to be our own devices.
yeah,
That
yeah,
created problems in the house.
yeah,
And again, I know you know this. As a consequence, the tolerance in the house diminished.
mm,
Whereas before you could put up with the children being naughty or the wife not putting your dinner on the table when you expected it,
yeah,
you could have understood it. Certainly, because your understanding level, your tolerance level went down, those
Yeah.
became issues. And one of the
Yeah.
things that's gone up is domestic violence as a result.
Yeah.
So we have forgotten, or sorry, we've lost our ability to control ourselves. We've kind of, COVID
Yeah.
has pushed our tolerance over that tipping point where it is no longer easy to control.
Yeah.
And that's what's causing all the rise in mental health, isn't it? Uh, because people realize it and they want to do something about it, but they can't.
Yeah.
Uh, and in our communities, the Asian communities, that's worse uh, because we've always been very proud about, or I won't say proud, always been very reluctant to share our troubles with anybody, with
Yeah.
our family, let alone anybody else.
Mm.
It's in our culture. And the moment you have something like mental health, uh, people feel ashamed to admit it. And
Yeah.
that's stigma bit.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've been doing now is I've been talking to my Asian colleagues,
Yeah.
not the Asians, but the communities, and getting them together, running little webinars with them to say, look, we are all in this together. Let's talk about it. I'm
Mm.
afraid there is no other solution other than the more people getting people to talk about it. Because the more people that talk about it, the more it becomes okay to acknowledge that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's good to hear your mental health issues and everything
Yeah,
go.
the problem as ever now is again in the UK, as you know, the government has never invested enough in mental health anyway.
Yeah.
The mental health has always been the poor cousin of the service. We've
Yeah.
always been here. And then on top of that, now put the rise in the need for support, and you can see
Hmm.
where we're heading.
Yeah. They don't talk about the vaccination and so on. They don't talk about the mental health issue as well, isn't it? Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this comes in nice little point. Because they're campaigning a couple of weeks ago about the vaccination for Asian community and Black and Asian BME community,
Yeah.
and they're promoting like I think I had I don't know but this guy Adel Ray OB, he's promoting vaccination. I tweet him, you're promoting BME, what about this disabled Black and ethnic community? He hasn't got back to me anything about it. And basically ask him that the promotion video that they did, they don't have any subtitle audio description. That's
Mhm.
ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes,
They
yeah.
yeah, I don't know this person, Adel Ray OBE. I don't know him. Just
I
mentioned
know
to.
the name. I won't admit to knowing the guy himself. But you're absolutely right. All sorts of disabilities, be it blind, other physical disabilities, they have been ignored, and they suffer twice as much as able-bodied people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they get ignored. Yeah.
They ignored and they're not prioritized for the shopping list. And the organization trying to campaign, but they're not very successful. And the supermarket is neglecting not all the supermarkets, some of the supermarkets are neglecting disabled people. I don't know why they're doing that. They're neglecting, from my point of view, anyway. Yeah.
My take on that, Gao, is it's not a deliberate act of neglect. It's just they don't think about the people who are outside their circle, if you like.
Mm,
They don't recognize that there's a group out there who we need to turn our minds to because they are not able to take full advantage of the facilities that are on offer.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
losing best.
but it takes organizations, people like you,
Mm.
to actually say, call it out, and shame them into doing something.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, and also they're losing 20% of the revenue from disabled community. All the high street supermarket or whatever, they're not taking on disabled people. They're losing online shopping, anything like that. And yeah, it's well and good they got online shopping, but if it's not the websites or apps is not accessible for them, they can't do online shopping. Especially most of the elderly people, they don't know about technology. Now it's getting
Mhm,
know because
yes.
of the COVID-19 situation. They have to learn anyway. And
Again, I can subscribe to that completely, because
yeah,
I mentioned to you that I worked with another charity that started distributing food as soon as COVID started. And you're
mm,
right. Uh, we have come across, I won't say hundreds, but quite a few people with sight issues who've gone without food for 2 3 days because they've not been able to get it. Yeah,
mm,
you know, and it's only if we call it out and expose it can we actually get action.
yeah,
Uh, and it's left, as I was saying earlier on, because the government does so little. It's left to people like you. It's left to charitable organizations to take care of these people, uh, and they can't because they haven't got the wherewithal or the resources to do it. In Watford, we've got a blind centre,
mm,
and as part of my work in Rotary Club, we used to drive them to the centre. We used to volunteer and drive them to the centre regularly.
yeah,
Of course, during the COVID, they shut down. The centre had to close down, and these people were learning, with sight, partially blind or even blind, were left stranded at home,
yeah,
days on end, with nothing to do, and their mental health went through the roof. Absolutely went through the roof.
mm,
Uh,
yeah,
what can we do about it? I think what you are helping do, expose it,
yeah,
let people know it's happening out there, and let's scream about it and get something done. Local government can do a fair bit, and I think they
mm,
should uh, blame the central government and say, "Oh, it's the central government's fault. We were duty to do something."
mm,
Uh, Watford is doing a little bit. I'm not convinced we're doing everything we can,
yeah,
uh, but working with organizations like our local disability movement, like with the Blind Center, we do a little bit, but
mm,
we do a lot more.
yeah, yeah. That's it. That's it. That's good. That's good. And so you involved with the local scouts as well. Can you tell me more about it, please, to our viewers and listeners?
Yes, I think I'm mad. I get involved with all of these causes.
Yeah.
uh, now, scouting is fantastic. I was a Boy Scout when I was at school, and that stayed with me all along because I think, in terms of what scouting does for yourself, self development, you can't put a price on it. It gives
Mm,
us self confidence, it gives you social skills. Uh, and those are the two skills that you need to survive in the bigger outer world.
yeah.
Uh, So in Watford, I am one of the vice presidents of a local district, uh, and we do what we do. Promote scouting, encourage parents to take their kids to scouts, run events regularly, and again, not been able to do that for the last year.
Mm,
Uh, but they get on with it. They're doing meetings on Zoom like everybody else.
yeah.
But it has hit clubs, scout clubs, and all social clubs actually,
Yeah.
because Zoom is not adequate for them. Because the whole point about scouting is that you meet together and you do things together. I know, same applies to other clubs as well. Uh,
Yeah.
my worry about scouting is that the numbers are not as high as we would like them.
Mm,
Although in Hertfordshire we're doing better than the rest of the country, I understand. Uh, but the problem, Gao, is like all voluntary organizations, we need volunteers.
volunteers and funding, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, funding is less of a problem. Uh,
Mm,
because lifestyles have changed, finding the volunteers is the bigger problem.
mm,
Uh, we've got a waiting list certainly in Watford of people who want to join scouts or cubs or beavers or guides,
mm.
but they're waiting because they're not leaders there for us to take them on, and that's a big problem. So if there are people out, uh, and I don't, even if they're partially sighted, I'm sure they can do things within the scout movement. So I
Yeah.
would encourage them to go and actually do their work. But those of us who are able-bodied, I would really urge them to give up one day a week to your local scout movement and say you're going to be trained to be a leader. Uh, again, I think it's a shame that scouting has not taken off within the Asian community as much as I would like it.
Mm,
Uh, if you go to the local scout movement, there are Asians, but they're in the minority. I know one or two places have tried to start all Muslim scout movement, and I don't like that.
yeah.
Uh, I refuse to support such a movement in Watford because that's not what scouting is about.
Yeah.
Scouting
So
is about,
everything integrated, isn't it? Yeah.
it is about community. It's about helping each other and socializing. So I resisted the call to say, "Can I help set up a?" I said I went to my Muslim friends and said, "Let's set up. I want you to join Scouts. Can you promote it?" And they said, "No, no, no. Can we set up a Muslim Scout movement?" And I said, "No, you go and do it. I'm afraid that is the wrong approach. That really is the wrong approach."
Yeah. It is. It is.
You
Yeah.
know, but Scouting does so much. Every 4 years we have an international jamboree where
Yeah.
scouts from right across the world, thousands of them get together. And I
Mm,
remember when I was a scout, and my jamboree in Japan was amazing. It really was. I'm still in touch with one or two of the people I went on the jamboree with for all those 40, 50 years ago.
yeah. Yeah. My brother, second brother, he went when I was studying in Sri Lanka. He was a scout. He went to India and he enjoyed it actually. Jamboree. Yeah. Yeah. It's quite
Yes,
good.
yeah.
It's a different life, isn't it? The scouts in uh, scouts lifestyle. I think I should say. I
Oh, you
used to
learn
be.
so much. At the
Yeah.
jamboree, you just learn so much. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
The survival, isn't it? But like a personal survival skills as well, isn't it? How do you survive in your own and in the jungle, anywhere in the world, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right, Gal. But because they start so young, then because they start with cubs, uh, the ethos of working together, and like I said a bit earlier, that self confidence that I can climb that tree,
Mm,
I can do anything.
yeah.
It just carries you through life a lot. It just, it's a leg up. I wish more people would take it up.
Yeah, yeah, like we are discussing earlier on, nowadays the kids they don't go out to the park. Now it's technology, 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 isn't it? Yeah,
That's right. Yes. Yeah. It is worrying. Yes.
yeah,
And unfortunately, going back to lockdown,
yeah.
lockdown only reinforced that culture of working from computers.
Mm.
You know, uh,
Think people are going to suffer next couple of months, isn't it? After going back to after lockdown, work environment, school, and everything, isn't it? Yeah,
and they just yes, yeah. Mm.
yeah. So thank you for that. And so apart from this mental health, Rotary, and also Scouts, um, you involved with the helping. when I was started my own business, when you helped me to the small business of used to be in when you had a worked in the center a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah. Are you still involved helping businesses as well, or you stopped it now?
No, no. As you know, I'm now retired, but I
Yeah.
still I do help from time to time through my role with the chamber. Uh,
Mm,
but I'm not that involved in it anymore. But my whole business world was I worked for a large corporation, but then the last 10 years was working with Business Link, business support, and my final 5 years in that role was actually working with people who'd been long-term unemployed.
mm,
And there we go back to what we were talking about, Carl. The thing that struck me most about the people there was they were people who were at one point at the height of their career, something happened and they could no longer work and they lost their confidence. And that's
yeah.
why they can't get back into work, you know.
Mm,
I mean, I'll give you just one example, if I may, if you've got time.
yeah.
Uh, One of the guys I came across in that role, I long-term unemployed,
Mm,
was this chap who'd been a tailor, not just any tailor. He was a several row tailor. He'd made suits for Arsene Wenger and the whole Arsenal team, etc. So he was working at that level.
mm,
Then he had a motorbike accident, couldn't work, lost his wife, lost his job, lost his house, lost everything. So he came back. So he was trying to get back in, and he came on this scheme, and we got chatting. And he said, "Look, I can't do it because." And we talked and talked, and we said, "Yes, you can do it because you haven't lost the skill. You
yeah.
just lost your ability to sell your skill." So I kept at him, and we eventually got him to call this friend he used to know in Dubai, somebody he
Mm,
used to work with. So I said, "Let me see, he's up there." I said, "Why don't you give him a call, see if you can go and do a bit of tailoring in Dubai for him."
mm.
And that got him back onto the route. And the last thing I knew, he was kind of back in business.
That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. But the reason I quote that example is you don't know when it's going to hit you. It could hit anybody, anytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
We look at long-term unemployed and say, "Oh, they're not trying hard enough. They're scoundrels," or "I would never be in that situation." I'm sorry. Any one of us could be in that situation anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. As you know, I'm still going at a long time now. It's going very well.
You've done
Yeah,
incredibly well, Gal. I mean, given the hurdles you've had to overcome, you've really demonstrated that anybody can do anything. A disability is a hindrance. It's not an obstacle that you can't overcome. You
that's
know
it.
that, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. That's good. Yeah,
and
thank
you
you.
should actually do motivational talks along that. Because your example is superb, and I mean that genuinely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your, this conversation. Is a long overdue conversation we had. And thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much to coming to our show. And have a nice evening. And I'll speak to you soon, Rabi.
Very kind of you to have invited me, Gal. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
ஆமாம் நேர்களே, இத்துடன் நாங்கள் டேர்னிங் பாயிண்ட் நிகழ்ச்சி என்று கொள்கிறோம். இன்று நாங்கள் ரபி மார்டின் அவர்களை திருவாளர் ரபி மார்டின் அவர்களை பற்றி வந்திருந்தோம். மென்டல் ஹெல்த் அவர் அந்த சாம்பியன் வாட்ஃபோர்ட் கவுன்சிலில் இருந்தவர் இருக்கிறார். மீண்டும் அடுத்த வாரம் வேறொரு சிறப்பு விருந்தினர் நன்றியுடன் விடைபெறுவது உங்கள் கௌரிசன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.